The theft of the maize by some thugs allegedly led by suspended but serving senator on Wednesday, 18th of April 2018, was the second time the upper legislative chamber of the Nigerian National Assembly, the Senate, will lose its symbol of authority temporarily since the restoration of democracy in 1999. The first time that the maize was desecrated was in year 2000 when the then Senate President Chuba Okadigbo removed the maize to an unknown location to avoid being impeached as the first among equals in the Senate. It's a pleasure having you on this program. My name is Segun Adebowale. Yes, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk nothing but politics on this program. Do stay tuned.
Good afternoon.
Good evening from your favorite station,
Reaching you right where you are. At home, at work, or on the move.
we are right at your doorstep.
Never again miss a thing around the globe.
We are minutes by minutes on world events,
No matter how close or far from your world,
news from the right perspective.
News as it should be.
we are
We are
Love What Plus News.
Love Plus
Love what plus news.
Last Wednesday's infamous act has yet again put the current players in the nation's political space in spotlight. And you know what it has done? It has cast a dark shadow on the current political dispensation. While some believe it is time for new players to emerge in the political space, others are still pitching their tents with these new old breed. But before Nigerians speak, let us take you around on political happenings within and outside Nigeria.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has denied creating 30,000 additional polling units in order to compromise the 2019 general elections. This comes after PDP's National Publicity Secretary, Kola Olobodia, on Friday alleged that INEC was planning to create 30,000 illegal polling units in some remote areas. A statement issued by the Chief Press Secretary to INEC Chairman Rotimi Onyekomi on Sunday in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, urged Nigerians to disregard the allegation. Professor Wole Soyinka has warned Nigerians to be vigilant about the activities of proponents of coalition movements, saying they are positioning themselves as saviors and messiahs to grab power in the 2019 general elections. He said this at the 80th posthumous birthday of late human rights activist Gani Fawehinmi, organized by civil society organizations in Ikeja, Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Speaking on the theme, Democracy for the Masses through Proper and Effective Governance, Soyinka said Nigerians should be vigilant. And elsewhere in Africa, Mauritania's opposition says it will contest upcoming legislative and municipal elections after previously boycotting votes in the country. The National Forum for Democracy and Unity, seen as a radical opposition grouping, has declined to participate in a number of votes against President Mohamed Abdelaziz and his government, but said it would take part in the elections slated for August or September. Mauritania's president came to power in a coup in 2008 and was elected in 2009 and again in 2014 for a second 5-year term. And in South America, conservative former Senator Mario Abdo Benitez has been elected president of Paraguay. He beat his closest rival, Efren Alegre, from the Liberal Opposition Alliance by 4 percentage points. The result means the right-wing Colorado Party, which has dominated Paraguayan politics for decades, will maintain its hold on power.
If you've just joined us, you're on Restricted Politics. We went out sampling people's opinions on whether we should still pitch our tent with these old political players that we have, or they should exit for the new breed. What do you think? Well, let's hear what some Nigerians think about this issue.
I want to look at proteges. You could erase my face and you will unfortunately go and vote for one of my puppets. You don't have my face, but you still have me in power. That is one mistake Nigerians are doing. If you want to vote for someone, you look at who he answers to. does this person answer to a cabal? Will this person respond to a cabal? Can this person be manipulated? Once you get all of that information, then you'll be able to deduce. So people should be exercising themselves towards generating information.
There's a need for a new breed to come in. Yeah, anywhere, because we are talking of succession plan all over. Yeah, we need the new breeds, the new ones, the younger ones to come in. They are more full of strength, full of energy. Their brain can still work 24 hours. So we need to bring them in.
But I believe we should bring fresh faces, new people with new ideas. We are used to the other idea, let something new come in. Still, I'm not pushing out everybody that's been there before. They may still have their opinion. So when fresh ideas are mixed with the older ideas, I believe we can get something really good. So fresh faces, 60%, 70%, then 30% of old.
The truth is, to get the right person to rule the country, it's not about the faces. That's what I see. If we have the old faces, but they do the right thing, they think about the economy, they think about the security, they think about the welfare of the people, I'm good for that. But if it happens that the old faces do not change the system that is in existence now, and it doesn't go with the masses. So in that case, definitely like every other person, I will want a new face.
Welcome back. Some new breeds indeed have been sprouting here and there, declaring their readiness for 2019. And one of them is Professor Kingsley Moghalu, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And guess what he'll be doing today? He'll be sharing his own perspectives on governance with us today on Strictly Politics. This is Professor Kingsley Moghalu at his very best. In a climate when very few technocrats are stepping out to be recognized politically, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, a political economist, lawyer, former United Nations official, and one-time deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, has signified intention to run for the highest position in the land, and is our guest today on Strictly Politics. It's a pleasure having you on our program.
Thank you.
My intro said it all.
Yeah.
You recently declared your intention to vie for the highest position in the land, though without a platform.
Yes, of course, I will vie with a platform, but it was deliberate that I did not announce that platform at this time.
Okay.
That's against the background of the way politics in Nigeria has been. Political parties in Nigeria do not have ideologies. They are simply vehicles through which politicians acquire power. My candidacy is about much more than that. There is a vision behind my candidacy, and it is that vision that I wanted Nigerians to focus on when I announced, and also to be able to assess me as a potential candidate as to whether or not I qualify to be president of Nigeria. If I had announced the party platform, immediately the conversation will shift to the party platform.
So it was tactical?
Yes.
So what's the vision?
The vision is a different type of Nigeria, a radically new country, which is led with technocratic competence, with a vision for economic transformation, national unity, and to restore Nigeria's place in the world.
The way Nigeria is run now, we have two political parties.
Yes.
What do you think of these two parties? These two major parties, rather. Then there's the third force that has emerged.
Well, I think the two parties have proven to be a revolving door to poverty. Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world, and that's the judgment, that's the assessment, that's the result of nearly 20 years of democracy. So we must conclude that the Nigerian political leadership class, the career politicians who dominate these two major parties, have failed us. We need a radically different new type of leadership. So you just can't grow left-handed in old age. And these politicians have nothing new to offer us. And it's that something new, something different, something bold that I offer to Nigerians as a technocrat with global experience, leadership experience, and national leadership experience in economic management and internationally in politics and national reconciliation and nation building.
Why do you think technocrats like yourself find it easy to be in their comfort zone rather than step out to be recognized politically, just like what you're doing now?
Because in Nigeria, stepping out politically carries a lot of risk. That's why a lot of technocrats do not go into politics. They prefer to be in their comfort zone and wait or lobby to be appointed by politicians. But at the end of the day, they can make no impact because no country can make any progress beyond the level of competence or incompetence of its, its political leaders. So it's the level of competence of the politicians who lead that determines whether a country makes progress. So appointing technocrats to these positions that's one of the reasons why we are where we are today, and those technocrats have made no difference. And that's why I offer myself for political leadership.
You want to confront those risks?
Yes.
What are those risks?
Let me explain. Leadership, because we have a lot of politics in Nigeria, but very few leaders. Lots of politicians, very few real leaders. Leadership, by definition, means envisioning, it means mobilizing, it means inspiring citizens to take a country from point A to point B. And it involves taking calculated risks. You must have a lion heart as a leader. You must be able to say, this is where we want to go. These are the risks, but this is how we will manage those risks.
I will navigate.
That's how we'll navigate it. And because I have that heart of leadership, I am able to confront the risks of putting myself forward. But I have a plan to navigate the risks.
What's the propelling factor?
I'm depressed by the level of poverty in this country. It's just mind-boggling. Do you know that Nigeria is now the poverty capital of the world? Do you know that?
How do you mean?
Let me explain. The World Poverty Clock, there's something called the Poverty Clock, and it shows that as of February this year, Nigeria overtook India as the poverty capital of the world. That is to say, Nigeria has the highest numbers of people in any country in the world living in absolute poverty. That's what I mean when I say Nigeria has become the poverty capital. And that's what it is, literally.
Okay, we have...
That's not acceptable at all.
Okay. We have President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes.
Who, if he decides to recontest,
sure, and
if he also clinch the ticket of whatever platform you choose to, you're likely to go
yes,
toe to toe.
Yes.
Right. I want you to assess this administration.
Well,
especially on the three mantra.
Yeah.
The economy, security, and fighting corruption.
Yeah. Well, of course, I have every respect for Mr. Buhari, who is the president of Nigeria at this present time. But if, as a citizen, I must be honest in assessing his government. And the assessment is that his government has failed against the benchmark of the three major things that he promised when he was seeking for the presidency. Number one, security. Number two, fighting corruption. Number three, the economy. Let's take it one by one. Security. Nigeria is far more insecure today than when this administration came into office in 2015. The kidnappings, the killings of innocent citizens by herdsmen roaming around the country with no accountability for those killings. You know, there's just people in this country now, everyone sleeps with one eye open. So on security, the government has failed. And the reason why their failure in the area of security rankles all the more is that if you read the Nigerian Constitution, and just by any understanding of what statehood means, you will find out that the security of the lives and property of citizens is the number one duty of any government. So any government that fails in that particular duty has no legitimate claim to being re-elected into office in a democracy. So that's number one. Number two, corruption. Transparency International just released a report a week or two ago, making it clear that corruption has increased in Nigeria.
Which the administration disparaged.
Disparaging it doesn't take away from the reality of that perception, the perception and the reality. Transparency International is a respected worldwide non-profit organization that measures corruption and sets out an index that everyone in the world respects. So that's just the reality. The fact that I may have malaria now and you know, you are a doctor or you're somebody who can observe that I'm not feeling well. And I'm telling you, because I don't want to appear like I'm sick, I'm saying I don't have malaria. That means nothing. I still have malaria. Oh, yeah. That's a fact. Okay. So therefore, everyone knows that corruption in Nigeria has not declined. It has actually gotten worse. That means that the fight against corruption, there are two problems with it.
Okay.
It's not a fight that has been well thought through. It seems to be more a fight against the opposition rather than a fight against corruption itself.
So
yes, it's a very selective fight. And because of that, it does not have credibility and it does not have legitimacy. That's number one. Number two, which is even a more fundamental problem, is that I don't see the real methods to fight corruption effectively being put in place by this government. To fight corruption, you need to do a number of things. One, you need to undertake a moral and ethical regeneration of the society. That's a big ask, and it's a big lift. There's no willingness, nor is there any capacity to engage in this by this government. Number two, there must be, impartiality of accountability, which is what I just discussed. People inside the government or inside the administration, when they're accused of corruption, they get away lightly. And everybody can see this. No one is blind. And everyone can see that the people who are being hounded are people who have contrary political opinions. How can anyone believe you're fighting corruption? Yeah, the opposition. Number three, if you want to fight corruption in Nigeria today, you must use technology. You must use technology to put in place the systems that reduce the likelihood or the ability of corruption in government practices of procurement, the award of contracts, and so on. So that's the thing that you should do if you're serious about fighting corruption. But we don't see any of these things being done. We just hear a lot of noise in the newspapers about fighting corruption. So then let's come to the economy. Perhaps that's just where it's even worse. This country has had a recession that was the worst in nearly 30 years. And our economy has gone really, really very bad. That's why poverty has increased. There are now 150 million Nigerians out of a population of just over 180 million who live on less than the equivalent of $2 every day, 600 naira. So that just tells you everything. So on the three counts that they came to power promising that this is where they have failed, on what basis should they be re-elected? That's why I'm offering myself as an alternative, not just to this government, but to the political class in its entirety. Because I don't believe that the political class in itself, whether it is this government or whether those in the PDP or other opposition parties who are career politicians, I don't think they have anything new to offer us.
If you were in Buhari's shoes, what would you have done? Particularly the security. How would you have tackled the issue of Boko Haram?
I would have a far...
Because as we speak today, Dapchi girls were released.
Yes.
However, the only Christian amongst them is still in the custody of Boko Haram.
Yes.
Simply because she failed to denounce our religion.
Absolutely. And that is symptomatic of what Nigeria has become today. This country is supposed to be a secular state. I believe that religion should not be involved or in politics or governance. Now, on the Dapchi girls, we're very happy that most of the girls have been released. But we're very sad that there's still anyone still left in the kidnap camp. And Buhari's government should do everything possible to bring back those 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 girls, however many they are, regardless of their religion. We want to see the priority given to their return just as much as those who were released. Now, I want to say something. The whole question of Boko Haram, the way this government is handling security is not right and it's not competent at all. One of the reasons people elected Buhari was that people felt that as a general, he would have a greater grip over the security of the country. This has turned out not to be so, regrettably and disappointingly. You see, security, national security is far more than just fighting Boko Haram. There are many deep-rooted things that are contributing. Yes. Number one is that Nigeria's borders are not properly secured. Because of that, people just roam in and out of the country, including people with malevolent intent. Across the border from Niger, across the border from Chad, across the border from Cameroon. These borders are just not secured. So my government, the government that I will lead when I'm elected president in 2019, will enforce the security of the country through a very effective reform of border control policy. Number two, security is more complex than just talking about Boko Haram. As we have seen, the government focused on Boko Haram, but several other security crises erupted in the country, such as the herdsmen going around killing people in Benue, in Kogi State, in Enugu State, in Taraba. In Jos. We've seen all over the country that the greatest threat now to national security is the herdsmen. And who are these herdsmen? Today we hear they're not Nigerians. If they're not Nigerians, how did they get into Nigeria? And what are you doing about it?
If you were the president, would you have proscribed the herdsmen?
They're terrorists, clearly, and we'll treat them as terrorists.
Would you have proscribed them?
You don't prescribe them because it's not about prescription or non-prescription.
Or would you have declared them as terrorists?
Yes, I would have. Okay. That's the point, yes. But they claim they are pursuing a livelihood. So we will solve that problem by addressing it. One, we provide ranches for herdsmen so that they can graze their cattle in ranches. And it's all very controlled. This is the 21st century. You can't simply be roaming across the whole country saying you're grazing cows and now becoming a threat to the livelihoods and the security of lives and property of other citizens. So I would provide ranches. That's number one. Number two, I would deal with the fundamental problem of desertification. That's an environmental issue. And it's one of the things that is driving this thing. Because as the desert increases in its scope and size, the herdsmen have very little scope to graze their cattle in those parts of the country. So they begin to go southwards. So you have to address a problem comprehensively. But before you can do that, you must understand what the problem is.
You must go to the deep.
You must think.
The root.
The root. But our politicians don't think very deeply, I'm afraid to say. And that's why Nigeria is in the state in which it is today. And I offer a different alternative.
We haven't been gifted with good leaders.
Yes.
Particularly the highest position in the land, the presidency.
Yes. Sure.
What attributes going forward do you think whoever wants to run for the president should have?
Number one, whoever wants to be president of Nigeria must be somebody who is visionary. I am a visionary. I can dream, and I have the ability to execute on my dreams on behalf of the people. Number two, whoever wants to be the president of Nigeria must be someone who is broad-minded. Nigeria is a complex and diverse country. You must not be seen to be divisive. You must be seen to unite and bring together Nigerians. So I believe, number three, that whoever wants to be president of Nigeria should be someone who is technocratically and intellectually robust in his or her, accomplishments. So I think addressing the problems of Nigeria requires an intellectual understanding of, for example, the economy.
Does age matter?
Age matters in the sense that it is important that a society must regenerate its leadership ranks. If people are very old and have been in leadership political positions since we were breastfeeding, and they want to retire with us, who are 30, 40 years younger, without us having had the opportunity to contribute our quota to the leadership of our country, then age becomes a barrier because it's a gerontocracy.
They could claim that Trump is in his 70s.
That's a different situation. We have had President Obama, who became president in his 40s. We've had Clinton, who became president in his 40s. We've had Kennedy, who became president in his 40s. Therefore, Trump being 70 is an aberration. In Nigeria, it is becoming the norm that people who are advanced in age and who have been in politics for decades still want to cling on to political power until their last dying breath. Now, assuming they had performed well, you might have then said their age doesn't matter. But the truth is that they have failed. That's why Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. That is why this country is heavily insecure. That's why corruption
we have
is
a
high.
governor. We have a governor in Kogi State who is in his 40s.
Yes.
And critics are saying that he's not That is an aberration.
Let me also explain. The fact that you're young does not entitle you to a leadership position. It is about being young, dynamic, and competent, and having the relevant type of experience. It's a combination of things. When we talk about a generational shift in leadership in Nigeria, I'm not asking you to elect me as president simply because I'm aged this or that. I'm asking you to elect me as president based on my track record, based on my character, based on my capacity, based on my competence. All these things come together to say this person is better than that person for this job. That's what I'm saying. It's not a question of absolutes.
In a society where we give so much things to regarding the issue of funds,
Yeah.
do you think you can muzzle your way?
That's an important issue. Politics always takes money.
Especially in Africa.
Especially in Africa, but even everywhere else. I mean, but the question is, what's the money you're looking for, to be used for? The money we are looking for is money that will be used for legitimate and lawful logistics of a presidential campaign. But the money that a lot of our politicians spend in Nigerian politics is money that goes into people's pockets at the end of the day. They're not just money for, renting a plane to transport you from here to there, or paying for advertisements on television. Those are all lawful activities. But people spend a lot of money in this country that is not lawfully acquired. They're stolen funds, and then they're spent illegitimately. That's not the type of money we're looking for. So the money we need to run this race is not the type of money that our traditional politicians have been spending. For a fraction of what they spend, we will run and win this race. So we're asking the people of Nigeria to support my campaign by contributing to it. In Nigerian politics, what happens is that the politicians bribe voters. They buy votes. They distribute money at election cycles and obtain votes. But when the politician goes into office, that's why we have terrible leaders. Let me finish. When they go into office, the first thing they do is to make a beeline for the treasury so they can recover the money they have spent in the elections. But we're asking for a different model. The citizens should invest in our campaign, and their return will be good governance because they own the government that will come.
You just described Nigeria as the poverty capital.
Yes.
So where will they have the funds to invest? What will they invest?
We're not asking them to invest millions. It is, as a man thinketh, so is he. That's those who can. Not everyone. There's some people who are so poor they can't, but there are people who can put a little widow's mite into this campaign. And many of them they're already doing so. You'll be surprised.
Brother Kingsley Moghalu, it's been a pleasure having you on Strictly Politics.
Well, thank you very much.
If and when you do realize your ambition, we wish you the very best of fortune.
Thank you.
We're still talking nothing but Strictly Politics. The program continues shortly. That's our political journey today on Strictly Politics. Do keep it with us next week. Remember that Nigeria can only be developed by Nigerians, and ensure that within your sphere of influence, you're contributing positively to the development of their country. My name is Shegun Adebowale. I'll see you next week. Enjoy yourself.